Schools will be open and students will be physically back in the classrooms on Monday, but they're going to have to wear a mask. Thank you for joining us. I'm Christian Cáceres.
And I'm Denise Valdez. So over the next half hour, we're going to be giving you all the information you need for back to school, top to bottom. So let's start first with masks. All students and staff will be required to wear them. Now, there are 310,000 students enrolled so far this year, and 95% of them have opted for in-class learning. There are a dozen schools offering distance learning for people who are taking that option. And for those in class, mask and social distancing will be back.
It applies to all students, as stated in the memo. As far as with the students with special needs, I know that there are going to be some exemptions made.
The American Academy of Pediatrics has said research consistently shows opening schools in person doesn't necessarily increase COVID transmission when masks and other protocols are followed. The school district says if a student does have to stay home, they'll make sure they can still do classes from there.
Well, Denise, the number of students who need free or reduced lunches and breakfast is the highest it's ever been. Right now, about 75% of students are receiving them because of a waiver from the USDA. All students are at CCSD can get a free breakfast or lunch right now without filling out any paperwork. So, what's on the menu?
A new elementary entree salad, and it's called our Rainbow Crunch salad. It has tomatoes, carrots, lettuce, chicken, cheese, and then their choice of dressing. This is a teriyaki chicken salad. This is our vegan burger, French toast, Jenny O biscuit with turkey sausage that's available.
All right, well, the CCSD dietitian says they're always making sure that basically all the fruits and vegetables are in there. Now, kitchen staff are also wearing masks and doing the hand washing that everyone else is doing.
Lunch has come a long way. I just used to get a grilled cheese and chocolate milk. School buses are going to be back on the roads, too, on Monday. The district has between 1,500 and 1,700 buses running. Students and drivers will both wear masks when they're on the bus, and drivers will also wear face shield when kids are getting off and on. They will load on one side and then unload on the other, so kids aren't crossing paths. Executive Director of Transportation Jennifer Bobas says there's an app that parents can use to track where their kids are.
We encourage all our parents to download the onboard bus, which allows parents to track the bus and where it's at and what time pickup and drop-off is, and they get all their routing information there.
Now, there is a bigger bus driver shortage than normal, so Boba says other people in the school district who have another job but also a CDL license are pitching in to help drive. There are plenty of cars to be wary of, too. It's been a while since school zones were active in some areas, so our traffic anchor Nate Tannenbaum reminds us of the school zone rules.
Well, we all should know what the deal is, even if we might be a little out of practice. So whether it's 15 miles an hour or 20 or maybe 25 miles an hour, when the lights are flashing, that's your speed limit. Lives are at stake and maybe the money in your wallet. Also, there are some other frequently broken rules around school campuses. Here's one. You're not supposed to flip U-turns around school zones. You're also not supposed to pass other vehicles in school zones. By the way, school zones are active when there are three things going on. Either when children are present, when those flashing lights are on, and it also includes 30 minutes either before or after school. Back to you.
Good reminder there. Thank you, Nate. Well, school police also say there will be plenty of first-time teen drivers out on the road, so watch for that as well. Now, during the pandemic, school police took the opportunity to do crisis intervention training. That teaches them to deal with students who are having mental health issues. Now, there are concerns there could be an increase after the pandemic. School police spokesman Brian Zink says their presence will be known on campus.
Our plan is to have at least 2 officers on every single high school campus, and then everyone else will be supported by our patrol officers. They'll be out patrolling the elementaries and the middle schools.
While a lot of other departments in CCSD are dealing with larger than normal staff shortages, Zink says CCSD police are hiring, but are only dealing with a normal amount of officers leaving. Well, changing the grades up next in our Back to School special. There will be a new grading policy this year. We break the differences for you, plus what won't be included in student scores. Now.
And which precautions will be taken on the field, the sports policies to prevent COVID. We are live local now. Mask Mask and social distancing aren't the only last-minute changes when class starts back up in just 4 days.
Kate Houston breaks down the new grading policy and why some teachers say it's lowering standards.
This grade change takes behaviors completely out of the question, and it arguably at the detriment of the student.
Tam Lester, a teacher at Del Sol Academy, is preparing to use the new grading guidelines.
There's a lot of mixed thoughts.
The new district-wide scale sets the lowest grade at 50%. Behaviors such as attendance, participation, and late or missing assignments will not influence a grade. During a back-to-school kickoff, Superintendent Dr. Jesus Jara says this will create equity across the district by having grades reflect knowledge instead of non-academic factors.
Whether you are in Moapa or in Laughlin, Nevada, or the core of Las Vegas, all children will have the ability to demonstrate.
However, Lester says this new policy takes tools that incentivize students away from teachers and does not instill accountability.
What they will need is those learner-ready behaviors, things like focus, things like participation, things like time management. And some of these policies are taking those away.
The new guidelines were approved in early July. CCSD is currently training teachers on how to use the new grading scale ahead of the school year.
And it's not going to happen overnight, and I think it's going to be something that students, parents, and staff will acclimate to.
Lester worries it may be too big of a shift too soon.
And I know the district wants to focus on intrinsic motivation, and that's beautiful, but I think we also need training with that. You know, for the past history of education is focused on classroom management, not classroom motivation.
Kate Houston, 8 News Now.
School Board President Linda Cavasso says 8 schools have already been using this grading model and have had success with it. In the coming year, students will also be able to revise their work.
Tracking students' mental health.
We don't know how deep the scars are.
Up next, the superintendent talks about keeping a close eye on students' mental health and what will happen if a COVID case pops up at a school.
Plus, taking the field safely, what differences you will be seeing on the sports team this year. We are live, local now.
Superintendent Dr. Jara talked about how they're dealing with learning loss, an increase in students who've harmed themselves, and what they're going to do if there's a COVID case in a school. There are a lot of questions to get answers to, so let's start with Dr. Jara explaining what happens if someone refuses to wear a mask.
I have faith in our building principals that are going to monitor just like they monitor everything in our schools. You know, I feel confident in that August 9th, our kids will be following all that direction and the directives. Our #1 priority is to make sure that we have children in classrooms with our teachers and our educators, with our building leaders. And I trust them that they're going to follow the protocols, and we're going to have school. Look, everybody is so excited around what we're doing, bringing our kids back. And that should be the focus of our work. You left here, our leaders are ready, and so are we, and so are our families.
All right, so the next question deals with what is the policy if there's a confirmed COVID case at a school?
We're currently working, with the Southern Nevada Health District. I mean, these are things that are in our implementation guide. Our principals, we follow contact tracing. Our nurses are phenomenal. Our administrators are doing a great job in really making sure the quarantine process. That's why masks are so important. You know, I urge this community to follow the direction of the governor and our health officials. You know, get vaccinated, wear your mask, follow instructions. So we are in school, in our classroom with our kids.
All right, so one concern Dr. Jara repeatedly raised last year was the number of students lost to suicides, which is 24. So what is CCSD doing to curb those numbers?
Once we started seeing an uptake up in the self-harm, we instituted, like I mentioned today, Beacon Alert, Go Guardian. We put in together in the video multi-leadership district team. Every school has a team of wraparound support systems for our kids. We, the board, also adopted Panorama, the universal screener, for us to be able to see, and the data will show, we've had suicide protocols, 600 plus, to protect our kids. That work is going to continue because, great point and great question. We don't know how deep the scars are. That is also one of the priorities that we have. The well-being of our kids and our staff is of our priority.
The Beacon Alert program that Dr. Jara was talking about there is actually a computer program that tracks students' online activity when they're actually logged into their school account. So it includes info from their webcam, their microphone, their keyboard screen, their browsing history. It then sends an alert to teachers if they need to keep a closer eye on a specific student and then get them some help. More students will be trying to catch up on the curriculum this year than in years past. So data from CCSD shows second semester grades from the last school year. And nearly 51% of middle schoolers received at least one F. That's more than double what it was the previous year. It was 40% for high schoolers and 31% for elementary students. So how are they dealing with what the school district calls learning loss?
Looking at the academic loss is one of the biggest components. That's why when we partner with NWEA Map Growth Assessment, immediately when our kids come in, they're going to participate in that interim assessment to see. They took it in the spring before they left, and now when they come back to see if there's gaps, and then I have the full confidence in our teachers that they'll be able to address some of those gaps. This is not going to be something that's going to be solved in 1 year. This is going to be something that's going to be multiple years, so the summer acceleration may continue, and we're going to look at all these different options for the next 3 years.
All right, so if you have more questions for the superintendent, be sure to let us know and we will get them answered for you. Christian?
Well, Denise, spending on back-to-school shopping is expected to be up this year. Listen to this. The Retail Association of Nevada says the average household will spend just under $850. The largest spending category, of course, is electronics, followed by clothing, shoes, and then school supplies. Well, it's game on for high school football in Southern Nevada. The Silver State is one of the few that completely canceled their 2020 season. As John Treach reports, this fall, Friday nights will be filled with action and safety.
As the sun sets every August night, anticipation rises for the return of high school football.
This is what keeps them coming to school. This is what keeps them happy. And I saw it firsthand last year where kids were struggling mentally and were down and depressed, and then it translated to poor grades or giving up on even going to school. And I think it's important that we have this season.
Gratitude is sweeping over Southern Nevada to be back on 100 yards of field, even in 100 degrees of heat. The old school, rub some dirt on it mentality has been retired.
We used to tell them, no matter what, I don't care if you're sick, dying, you show up to practice. It's like practice for when you're older and you have to go to work. And it's just a different world we live in now. And now we tell kids, hey, you got to look out for everyone. You can't be selfish.
For the young athletes, their life is consumed with practice and protocol.
And they're doing the best they can to make sure that we're safe every day. We do check-ins every day, COVID tests daily. We have options to get vaccinated, so they're definitely taking these times serious and making the best out of it.
In 2020, most states proved outdoor sports can be done.
The nice thing is, hopefully kids who are vaccinated will get to come back and they won't have to get quarantined if something does happen. But, as a coach, that's probably my biggest fear right now. I don't want to get shut down for 10 days and miss potentially 2 games.
The Liberty Patriots have waited 20 months to defend their first state title.
So this is my last ride with my brothers and ended off with a bang.
Las Vegas can't wait to soak it all in. John Treach, 8 Sports Now.
Well, practices began this week. Competition begins in 2 weeks as more students than ever are preparing for their first high school sports experience in Southern Nevada. It's such an exciting time, Denise.
Yeah, so many kids were robbed of all that last year. Well, while students in the Clark County School District head to class on Monday, some kids in charter schools started today. More than 300 students registered for in-person learning at Explore Academy at Rancho and Lone Mountain. The school opened during the pandemic, so this was actually the first time everyone was on campus. Teachers say the energy was through the roof and students were excited to learn.
Hopefully we can get back to healing and get back to the way we used to teach, and the students are going to be able to learn a lot more now, I believe, being in the classroom.
Although the school just opened, it'll be moving to its main location, which is near Simmons and Cheyenne. We're told that should happen in the next coming months. However, material shortages and permit delays during the pandemic forced the construction to slow down, so they're running just a little bit behind schedule. And our Back to School special will continue right after this break. All right, Christian, so we asked the school district what will happen if a positive case is found. Well, they're going to be using a seating chart inside the classroom to do contact tracing for other students that were within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes. and then those students will have to quarantine as well. Still working out how we bring kids back to school in the age of COVID. We do have answers to a lot of your questions, from food to bus routes, school supplies, all there conveniently for you on our website at 8newsnow.com. All you have to do is look for our Back to School story. And that's going to do it here for our Back to School special. We're always on at 8newsnow.com, along with our app, Facebook, and Twitter.
That's right. We'll be sure to watch 8 News Now at 11 o'clock. From all of us here, have a great night.